Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day today. I'm with a special guest of mine, good friend Ryland Foltz, who's here with the company Catalyze AI, as you've probably seen in the email that I sent out earlier. But I've had the pleasure of knowing Ryland for about a couple months, few months now, and he's come on and done another call for me before, and then we also met on a Zoom call before that. So we've had a good couple chances to get to know each other. So I'm excited to talk to you guys today and have Ryland kind of share a little bit about his company and what they do as far as helping us as real estate agents find motivated sellers, which that's a big one. We always have a lot of agents asking about seller and listing lead generation. And a lot of the times we talk about buyer stuff, Facebook ads, Google ads. And so, having somebody here that can kind of talk a little bit about how you guys can go and get some really, good seller leads that you can start to work. I know that's going to be something that a lot of people are interested in. I already see a lot of people tuning in. And in fact, if you guys are tuning in, if you wouldn't mind, drop a comment, let us know where you're tuning in from. And also leave a like on this video. So, but that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. I want to, let Ryland give an opportunity for you to share a little bit about who you are. First off, give me a little bit about your background, and then we'll jump into your company. So, Ryland,
Awesome.
without further ado, man, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Kyle, appreciate it. Thanks again for having me on. Excited to chat about Catalyze and what we're doing on the lead gen space, as I know on everyone's mind, given the shifting market here. So we're super excited. So a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Went to school down in Tucson at the University of Arizona. And then right out of college, got into the wealth management space. So for about 3 to 4 years, I worked as a financial advisor, actually out in Florida, Naples, Florida. I worked at JP Morgan Private Bank as an analyst there, then left and went independent back in Arizona. And so kind of from my point of view, in the financial advising space, as it is in terms of lead gen, it's almost kind of goes hand in hand when I talk to realtors of what they go through and what they experience. And so during my journey as an advisor, what we were doing and I was trying to do is grow my book of business. And so I did that in Phoenix, Arizona, and then I ended up moving out to Los Angeles for the last year and a half of my advising career there. And during that process of building a book of business, it comes down to referrals, your centers of influence, what you're doing in the community, your current clients, and it's almost very similar to real estate of how their book of business is made up of. And so what we were kind of, and this kind of sets the stage, as Catalyze kind of incubated from the wealth management industry. And so my co-founder worked as a financial advisor out in Chicago doing M&A there. And so we really saw a lot of synergies kind of out in Florida to Arizona to California, and really anyone's book of business being an advisor, where their main goal was to identify money in motion. And so that's kind of the theme of Catalyze's mission is how can we identify money in motion, or individuals that are going through an event that causes them to have assets in motion. And so we, in my book of business, and a lot of in real estate as well, what causes this money in motion is usually life events. And so that's kind of the prospects that were coming across my desk was, hey, Ryland, I just had a divorce, a bunch of assets are moving around. I need help getting everything settled, or I'm having a new baby, or I just inherited this money. And in all these situations comes through life events. And I think it's now more important than it was, given the shifting market, as assets are always going to be in motion. It doesn't matter if interest rates are at 20% or it goes back to 2%. each month that goes by, there's people going through life events that need your services, need any services out there. And so what we wanted to create with Catalyze is to identify these individuals that are going through life events, really top of funnel, as most of the lead gen services out there are, I would consider, bottom of the funnel.
Mhm.
And so when you think of Catalyze, think of more of that typical like farming, more, okay, who should I be reaching out to versus maybe some, like a Zillow or someone who's submitting information online saying, hey, I want to talk to a realtor now. There's different types of lead gen that fit into, that work hand in hand. I think Catalyze is more of a top of funnel approach. And so,
Yep.
how we started was in the wealth management industry of identifying high net worth individuals going through those life events. But we really transitioned to real estate as we noticed that the biggest asset that someone owns is their property.
Mhm.
So as we're trying to find assets, we noticed that the property itself, that real estate piece going through that life event, is the biggest asset. We said, hey, let's look at the landscape of life events and see what event causes the most amount of transition of that real estate piece. We were focused on listings, as we got a lot of feedback that real estate agents love listings versus trying to chase buyers and all these showings, and then they don't want a home anymore, and kind of chase that around. So we wanted to create a listing focused platform identifying these properties in motion. And so we looked at all the life events, and kind of put them on the table and said, okay, let's look at divorce or selling a business or retiring or new babies, and see where the most amount of homes are selling. And really in this kind of in this time, we noticed that the inheritance piece of it really created the most amount of listings, most amount of transitions from an event. And I don't know if everyone knows the landscape of what's going on the inheritance side, but given where we are as a population set, we have way more boomers than we do millennials. And most of the boomers own the assets. And so I think last year, as we built a platform to identify the assets in motion, we identified about $3 trillion of assets that are moving to the next generation. And this number is only increasing, even though asset prices are decreasing, just because the amount of boomers rolling off is an accelerated rate than the next generation owning assets. And so it's interesting to see, hey, there's a $3 trillion opportunity of assets in motion. How can agents, advisors, CPAs, everyone kind of get a bite at the apple of saying, hey, how can we push, use our services, as there's so many different kind of different utilizations of our data. But what's interesting is the property is transitioning quick from an event like this. And so what we did is built a platform. We're a new venture. We launched about November of 2021. So probably about a year and a half from inception, but we launched our platform for agents back last June. And kind of who we're helping and what we're doing in terms of the platform is simple but complex. At a simple level, we're identifying individuals that are inheriting properties, and then we're estimating, okay, who are going to be these expected decision makers in the process, and then pulling a ton of analytics. And this is where we use AI and machine learning. Pulling the property address analytics, so that's square footage, number of bedrooms, how long that property's been there, is there an HOA, monthly amount, and then pulling the analytics and characteristics of the inheritors. So you kind of have two separate characteristic charts of saying, okay, what's their level of income, how far they live from the property, there's what's their demographic, age, sex, and if you marry these two together, you could really predict home selling. As history repeats itself, and I give this example, hey, if I inherit a home and I'm out in California and I inherit a home out in Maine, I'm 4,000 miles away from that. I'm going to end up transitioning that or selling that because, what if it's it's on an acre property? I don't know how to do any landscape. It has a high HOA. It's a big house. I can't handle that. And so there's a lot of situations that come of that. And that's really what properties we're trying to identify before they sell, and then partner with the agents there. And so, in order of magnitude of what we're identifying, on the inheritance side, and that's our bread and butter, we have a robust pipeline to be launching new movers and divorce, and new babies and kind of all these life events. But as of now, today, if you sign up with Catalyze, we concentrate only on the inheritance segment. And in terms of kind of where we have data, it's all across the US and every single zip code. And that's how we kind of pool our leads. And I'll kind of get into our pipeline and how we pool leads in a second. But in terms of hey, out of the 3.5 million people who pass away, about 1.5 million own property. And if you just look at high analytics and not take any machine learning, roughly about 30 to 40% of those sell, in 8 months to 12 months time.
Wow.
So you have this massive amount of properties that after an inheritance, about half of them transition off or liquidate. And so we're just trying to increase that number and take that sample set as at our core, we're consolidating, everyone passing away, consolidating where they own property at, and then running our algorithms to say, hey, this home's going to sell. We need to get this to an agent, based on the demographic and characteristics. So how we pool leads, and I know Kyle could share our website, and I can share my screen around the portal. But in terms of what we do with agents, I would say our ideal agents are used to like a farming method, and that's kind of where we're an alternative to. So instead of farming your zip code, how about when you're working when you're on the Catalyze platform, we want to farm the highest propensity homes in your area. And so what we're trying to do is that event, that inheritance is a trigger, but on a monthly basis, this is recurring. And so we're partnering with the agent when they sign up to basically create that subscription of homes in that zip code on a monthly basis. So if you sign up with us, you plug in your zip code, and that's kind of, we generate a radius around that zip code between 1 and 50 miles. And that's kind of your target market. And then each month we send you the leads in that area that we have. And it's just a pay per lead model. Agents pay, we have a minimum of 30 leads, but out in Los Angeles, we have 2,000 leads a month available. So it's a pay per lead model of, you could scale it up, you could scale it down. But at the end of the day, the trigger is the inheritance, and we're building okay, who's going to transition, who's going to sell that property. And then we enrich it with all the contact information, name, email, phone, and then where they live as well. So, at the end of the day, the information you're getting is third party in a sense of we're consolidating it for you quickly. So, we pride ourselves on the accuracy, but also the timeliness of our data. So you're getting, those inheritances in the last 60 days. So we want you to be first to the door. And so we're less about like calling them probate leads or pre-probate leads, because there's usually 3 scenarios with our data set. We're identifying it before it goes to probate. We're identifying there's homes that are held jointly that the spouse ends up can't take care of the home, needs a transition. So there's joint surviving spouse that a lot of times those individuals end up selling the real estate as well. And then there's via trust, as we're identifying all trusts as well, and plugging in, okay, who's going to be the beneficiaries of that trust. So there's usually 3 scenarios on our platform in terms of leads that the agent will receive. But the main thing is you're getting it before it's hitting the court systems. Kind of what, our specialty is aggregating, call it death data across the US in real time, and then tying it to property, and then tying it to beneficiaries extremely quick. So we could get you that information at the first of the month, at the highest accuracy that's possible in terms of the contact information. So you could get marketing materials out to that group as soon as possible. And so it's less about, in terms of the marketing activation, we really lean on the agent to distribute the marketing. Our platform, which I'll show in a second, is more data focused. And then we help and we consult and show sample scripts and stuff. And I could give you some insight of what's working within our data. It's more of that right time, right place mentality, versus, hey, I know you inherited a home, I'm here to help sell it. It's more, think of it as circle prospecting or something you would do with your farm. Since our data is predictive, we're almost knowing the seller's going to sell before they even sometimes know they're going to sell.
Right.
So there's some psychology to it there, and the best thing you could do as an agent is just be at the right time.
Exactly.
And be in there, front and center, at the right time, at the right place. And so a lot of agents are utilizing direct mail, or they're doing door knocking, or they're calling through the leads.
Yep.
And you're just kind of saying, hey, I'm the go-to agent in the area. I help a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers, in terms of, from renting to investment properties to kind of the whole gambit. Like, if you ever need anything real estate related, like, I'm the person. And so it's more of that type of outreach versus hammer on the head of trying to prospect these leads as, hey, I'm the inheritance special.
Yeah. Well, real quick too, Ryland, because lots of great information there, and I definitely want to kind of dissect some of it and go into some of these pieces of it. But definitely, that was a great deep dive into like the company and like what you guys offer and do. And then I know there's still a lot we can kind of share as far as the how they go and find the zip code and like what the back end looks like. I definitely want to dive into that. We do have a couple questions, so I want to, before we get too many questions and get too far ahead, I want to make sure we get through some of these real quick. And by the way, guys, if you do have more questions for Ryland, or even for myself or whatever, throw them into the comments there, throw them into the chat, and we will get to them. We may not get to them right away, but we will get to them. And also, by the way, stick around, because I know there's already probably a lot of people who are jumping on your website and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for something like this for a while. Don't sign up just yet, because I do have, there's a special promo code that Ryland has offered for my audience, where you're going to get a lifetime discount on any lead package that you sign up for, if you decide to go sign up. And so definitely stick around for that. We will get to that here in just a little bit. So real quick though, one of the questions we've got, Metro Phoenix Living says, does Catalyze AI give phone numbers and email to executor trustee, or is it designed to be fueled with direct mail?
Yeah, great question. And so on our platform, we do give all the contact informations. We call them expected decision makers. So we're just building the relative tree. So instead of calling them trustees or executors, for every scenario, we call them expected decision makers. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to pool who's the relatives, who's in the family tree closest to that property, or closest with that family. And we get a lot of that data from credit and saying, okay, hey, mom and the son was on a credit card together for 20 years. They must be the closest. So we're just pulling who's closest to that relative who passed away. And then providing you, what we do is provide the name, the age, an email, phone number, and their residence. Sometimes if it's the spouse, they live at the same address as that property lead itself, but sometimes they live out of state, the beneficiaries or trustees.
Interesting. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Cliff asks, he says, don't most wealth managers have an in-house agent or lawyer to handle?
Yeah, so sometimes they do. This is separate from the wealth management side of the business. So on our wealth management side of the business, we're trying to identify individuals over a couple $1 million in net worth. But on our real estate side, we're identifying the property itself.
Mhm.
So our leads don't go through the wealth management business and then filter through the to real estate agents. They go strictly to real estate agents. So we carve out all the leads, and then they're designated for, hey, these are real estate leads as there's a property in motion. And then for those that are, the ultra high net worth, we're carving those out for the financial advising side. So it's kind of two separate sides of the business.
Perfect. And then one last question here. Are the leads exclusive to agents in that market?
Great question. This was something I was going to bring up.
Mhm.
They are. So the answer to that is yes. And I think that's the biggest reason why agents are seeing success on our platform, is that all the leads that you receive are exclusive. And you can kind of box out other agents in the area. So it's a first come, first served basis. If there's two agents in the same area, we do a round robin draft. So everyone gets we rank all the leads, call it from 1 to 1 million. And then, agents in the area draft the leads based on proximity to their zip code. But if you're the first in the zip code and you take all the leads within that 10-mile radius, then you're the go-to agent in that area, fully exclusive. You own that area. And so we don't double sell the leads at all. And it really there's been no feedback of, hey, I called that, I talked to that homeowner and they said, stop calling me. You're the 10th call of the day. That's what we're trying to not be and get away from. So yeah, all the leads are exclusive.
Well, and that's a great segue because I bring that up because I wanted to show, and I don't know if it's better for me to show it on my end or you to show it on your end as far as like the sign up process, because I was actually really impressed with like being able to see exactly like kind of how many leads and what it's going to cost and all this kind of stuff like while you're signing up. So it's not really like like a mystery or whatever as far as how many leads you're going to get and all that type of stuff. So what would be the best way to do that? Can you share your screen and
Yeah. How
show
about,
that?
let me share my
Okay,
screen. Um, and then I could just walk through the account creation process,
perfect.
and then let's see, present, share screen. Mhm.
Yeah, guys, and I'll go ahead that way if you are interested in signing up and you want to follow along with us for that process. I'm going to put the link on a banner down below. So you can see here, if you use this link, so Ryland's gave me that link down below there with the kylehandy.link/Catalyze AI. And then you use the code KyleHandy. They're actually going to give you're going to see on that page a 20% lifetime discount on the leads, which is amazing because I'm telling you, like, when you go in there, for one, I told Ryan, I was like, man, the price of these leads seems very good for what you're getting. And then to get a 20% lifetime discount on top of that, I was like, man, it makes it really affordable. And I've actually already had, I think, 3 people sign up because I shared this with some of the agents on my team already. And the feedback has been very positive. So they're already, getting leads every month, like lots of leads. They're like almost like, and they're trying at the point right now where they're at, because this has been just in the last month now, trying to figure out like their scripting, like how they, need to best approach the lead. So that's kind of where they're at. But everything about, the service and everything they've received from you guys has been super positive. And then just also for people to know, it's like the cool thing too is that it's not like something where you have to get on this like long-term contract, an annual plan, or pay for
Mhm.
tons of stuff. I mean, it's pretty much just come and go as you please. I mean, I think it's realistically you want to at least give about 3 months of
Mhm.
trial and trying it out before you just go away. But at the same time, there's not, maybe you can speak to that as far as like a contract that you guys require.
Yeah, that's good. Kyle, and can you see my screen?
Yes, I've got it
Are we
up
good?
there
Okay,
now.
perfect. Yeah, so we wanted to be, we in business, we've dealt with so many lead providers or just so many, and they always, CRM companies, and they're always trying to lock you into long-term contracts. And sell you something and it isn't. And at the end of the day, we want to be as transparent as possible and give you the flexibility, as if it's not working for you, like it's not going to work for us to have you, part of, on board. So, all the contracts are month to month, and they're super flexible, and we try to pride ourselves on, having great client service. And, if you have any questions, we're always wanting to hop on a call or a demo, sharing sample scripts, or just saying, hey, what's working across the country? Let's share those around. Of here's the blueprint. Here's some direct mail that got a lot of feedback. Here's some scripting that got a lot of feedback. So when you're a client, we are always kind of sending around materials, or just always in communication. And so if you guys end up signing on, just feel free to reach out. I could put my contact information at the end of this webinars. But in terms of signing up, I wanted to walk kind of everyone through the process. Everything, how to access the portal, how to sign up, is all through our website. It's just catalyzeai.com. And then at the top, there's a sign up button. And if you click that, it takes you to a page to create an account. And I'll kind of create a quick account. It takes about 2 seconds here. So it's just your name, your zip code. I'll go, I grew up in Tempe, Arizona, so I'll go my home zip code. You create a quick password here, and then it's taken to a screen where you see what's available in your area. And this is in real time. So you could say, okay, do I have another agent in the area? Or kind of where the leads are in proximity to that zip code. So I put in 85284. We break it up into 2 categories. One is over $1 million, the other is under $1 million. So if you focus on properties over $1 million, you could purchase leads over $1 million. Most of our data is under $1 million. We have a Zestimate process where we get the average value of the home, and a lot of times we underestimate, or just those estimates are kind of low. So those $800,000, $900,000 homes, I concentrate on $1 million home, those under $1 million are still around that price point. But and as time goes on, we build almost a lookalike audience. So if you're selling a lot of $700,000 homes, we'll push more of that data to you. But in terms of the data and volume itself, it's just a price per lead. Think of it as $12 per lead. We say $120 a month. That's for a bundle of 10, as we sell in bundles of 10. So here you could select the amount of leads you want. We have in the Tempe area, from 50 miles, we have 471 leads available, but this gives you these radial bands. And so if I live in 85284 and I say, hey, I work about 5 to 10 miles of my area, I know within 10 miles here, I have 102 leads, and this is an estimate per month. So it is a subscription business, and every month you'll get that basket of leads. So if I say, hey, I want to box out any agent from coming into 85284 within a 10-mile radius, I'll purchase about 100 leads. So when someone comes in and they put in, you could see here, we have an agent in Tempe that's just taking the over $1 million homes. So you could see 0, 0, and now we have some available. So it'd be the same to you guys if you're taking that area, where an agent will come and they'll be like, you can't get, if you take all 400 leads, no one could come into a 40-mile radius around you. So we do that for first come, first serve, and the pricing's super simple. We have a minimum of 30 leads. So if you select 30 leads, it's just $12 a lead. You could add to cart, and that's $360. And then it takes you through, it's just linked to a credit card, and it re-ups every 30 days, and you get leads every first of the month. And so $12 per lead for under $1 million, and then $15 per lead for over $1 million. And so after you sign up, you get leads instantaneously. And so here's kind of the portal that we built. It's basically an access point of the data. And so every month, data comes through your recommended leads tab. This is the tab where new data comes through, and you can see here's your leads of the properties that someone who lived there has passed away. And we show a scenario as well. Okay, is this a surviving spouse instance? Is this pre-probate? Is this trust? We give you an estimated market value of the home as well. And so you could come in and click through a lead. And what we're showing is, okay, here's the address where, we say estate of the individual on title passed away. And then now you could basically look at the expected decision makers and show, hey, here's the phone numbers, here's where they live, emails, phones, and you could take notes here. Hey, left voicemail and whatnot. So it's a light CRM. I would say most of our agents come in and export the leads out to their CRM. We do integrate with Follow Up Boss as of now. We're working on some other integrations, but you could come in here and export the leads to Excel, and all the data that you'll see comes through of all the expected decision makers and the contact information associated. And then, we just have bucketing, so you can move leads. If I'm like, I contacted these 2 leads, I could say mark as, contacted, or they're active or whatnot. And that kind of moves the lead through kind of the portal of who's contacted, who's my active listings, who did I list or my sold, or I could archive some leads if I wanted to. And so that's the platform as itself. It's super easy to navigate. It's just a bridge point to either export to a CRM, or you could take some notes on here and kind of move them through the funnel, so you don't have to do it on Excel. But the leads come every first of the month. So if you sign up on April 1 or before, you get leads on that day, and then next month you'll get those leads. So May 1st, June 1st, July 1st. And yeah, that's about it. And any questions in the group, Kyle, around that? Kyle, I think you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that somebody brought up, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, was just about kind of the perception of reaching out to people who may have recently had somebody pass away in their household, and just kind of like the thought behind it. So like, for instance, Coffee and Contracts writes, I'm hesitant to work death data. I've had bad experience with people thinking I'm trying to take advantage of the situation of their dead relative, even after being recommended by the funeral home. So like, maybe just if you could speak to that, as far as, we don't have to get into complete scripting, but even just I mean, the way I think about it is a lot of these people, they need help, and it's not even so much you're taking advantage of a situation. It's more of you're going to be there, and maybe not everybody is going to need your help or want your help at that time. You do need to be sensitive and all these types of things, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people who, they don't know somebody that they can turn to, or who maybe even specializes in this. And so what have you seen about that? Or maybe some of the agents you've been working with, what has their experience been, calling these types of leads?
Yeah, no, that we get that question a lot, and there's a lot of ways to go about it, as it is extremely sensitive time to be reaching out. But at the end of the day, you're providing so much value, as a lot of times they don't know where to look, and they get caught online searching something and then get bombarded with calls that way. And so we've seen a lot of people offer kind of, hey, here's what I do in situations like yourself. I help with the moving, I clear the home. There's so much kind of sentimental value there, where they're in a state where I don't know if they inherit a home out of state. Okay, who's going to clean it up? I got to do the landscaping before I sell. I don't even know what the home's worth. I don't even know of an agent out there. Or even if it's a surviving spouse, they might be like, hey, it's a 2-story. My husband helped me up the stairs. Now he's not here anymore. Do I need help is there any nursing facilities, extended living, extended care in my area? So definitely come with those resources in the back of your mind, or if it's like a pre-probate situation, kind of knowing the probate system of what's the steps, is a lot of people don't know the first step to do if their parents were on title, wasn't held in a trust, and they're trying to get custody of the house. And so I think this is everything, that knowledge, I think, in that being able to help them in those situations needs to be in the back of the head, being quick to come up. But at the front, I think the conversation. So you're not, we don't want to promote ambulance chasing or stuff like
Mhm.
that. And if you're just coming across like you're trying to help the community out and in that neighborhood out of saying, hey, inventory's low right now, and maybe I'm working with a couple of buyers who are super interested in the neighborhood, or I sold a home, in that neighborhood across the street. If you're curious of what your home value is worth, um, like let me know, and maybe it's an event that you invite these people to of, hey, real estate 101, what's going on in the markets. I know if I inherited a house, the first thing I would start looking is, okay, what's the mortgage rate, how's that impacting, what's going on, are prices decreasing or increasing. For You don't have to think about that until you start owning multiple properties.
Mhm.
So it's definitely comes circle to that, more of a right time, right place interaction, but being able to be nimble of saying, hey, actually, if they bring up that situation, oh, I've dealt with that many times, of here's the probate court systems, here's your checklist, or here's what I'll do, to help you out in terms of, getting a moving company all situated or stuff like that. So it is tough, but the opportunity and just kind of the feeling of you're really helping someone out at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You're not taking advantage by them at all. It's more of you're providing a service that they really need, as a lot of these homeowners don't know where to look to. So
Yeah,
that's what I
100%.
would say for that.
Agreed. Somebody asks, where are you getting leads from? He or she missed the beginning. So maybe, I mean, I guess for those that are just wondering too, like, where does this data? It's like, big data. You hear that term? Like, what? Like, where is this stuff even coming from?
Yeah, great question. So it is a little bit of the secret sauce, but I'll kind of give you the full pipeline. We're basically aggregating big data, and what big data means is, some of it is us scrubbing sources. A lot of times we're pulling in massive data sources. Um, but what we built in terms of that data aggregation, is at our core identifying people passing away. That's our core on the inheritance. Okay. And how we do that is not looking through the probate courts because they get it 3 months in advance. We're tapping into more live feeds, whether that's from Social Security, whether that's from death certificates, hospital records, quick obituaries that get posted, social media posts, kind of scraping the web, plugging into thousands and thousands of data providers to
Wow.
aggregate this in real time. And so once we know, hey, Bob Smith passed away, what we then do quickly is say, okay, where did Bob Smith own? Like, what assets does Bob Smith own? So we were pulling in, okay, he owns 123 Main Street in Tempe, Arizona. Once we know that, we build out the relatives. So then we plug into social media companies, credit bureau companies of saying, okay, is there a spouse? Where's the kids at? So we kind of build this family tree for each of the individuals who pass away. And that's kind of how we flow the assets of saying, okay, Bob Smith didn't have a spouse, he lived alone, but here are the two kids. And so then we'll enrich those two kids, meaning, okay, contact information, email address, where they live. And then we'll run analytics on them as well as the property, saying, okay, where the kids live, what's their income levels, what's their demographic, do they have a ton of credit outstanding, is there a lot of equity in the home, all these stuff that really impacts the home to selling. And what we kind of accomplished is predicting, about 50% of the leads we passed along to our agents, or out of all the leads we pass along, about 50% of them will sell in the next 6 to 12 months. So the data that you're receiving is extremely, it turns over, and it's now a question of how you can become that agent. But how we're generating the leads is mostly through data aggregation of, okay, who's passing away, who owns property where, and then who are the relatives that are going to inherit that property, or the spouses or whatnot. And then what are their contact information. So plugging into tons and tons of skip tracers, but better quality in terms of credit bureaus, social media companies that we now say, can we validate this number? Can we validate the email address? And we have a lot of checks and balances to make sure we're passing along high accuracy contact information, close to around 80% accuracy of contact information.
That's, I mean, so needless to say, there's a lot going on in the background that, we as the agents who are receiving the leads, we don't have to worry about that. But I mean, there is just, I mean, it's a ton of different things that's going on there as far as getting the data, validating the data, like matching it up with other stuff. And so, yes, so for whoever that was that asked that question, as far as where they're getting the leads from, now you kind of know, but it's still, I mean, it's something that, yeah, I don't think that any of us as agents would be able to produce all that in any kind of a time worthwhile investment for us, So, Metro Phoenix Living says, is there an option for a team where leads can go round robin to team members?
So yeah, there is if you guys sign up individually within kind of that similar zip codes. So there's two ways to go about it if you have a bigger team. One is you could just pick that one zip code and share the login. So we could have multiple users on at once. We don't log you out. So one user could purchase all the leads, and basically then you don't have to go round robin. You could just share the login or whatnot. But if you did want to go round robin, you just have each one of those team members sign up in that zip code. If everyone puts the same zip code in, they'll go round robin. So that is a way to do that, is just every single agent signs up with that same zip code.
Got it. Now, also, I mean, couldn't there, I mean, theoretically, because the leads come all on one day, correct? So like they all come to your system that day. And since you allow a full export of the leads, you could then, export those leads data and import them into whatever CRM the team uses. And then usually a lot of the team CRM systems have it set up to like whenever a new lead comes in, it will round robin that lead out. So like, then if, you uploaded all of those leads, those would then get round robined out, or you could just segment them in that spreadsheet prior to uploading them into your CRM and just send 10 leads to Bob and 10 leads to Susie and 10, however you want to do that. But yeah, so there's many different ways you could probably do that. I would imagine, but it does sound like you guys also have an option if they wanted to sign up with multiple accounts. That brings up a question too, is, I mean, are there any like volume discounts? Like if I know we obviously have the discount that I've got, but let's say somebody does have like a big team, or they've got like I've got some agents in my group that have like a team where it's an expansion team. So they got, agents over in, Miami, and then they've got agents up in New York, and then they've got agents in Houston. Like if they wanted to buy a bunch of leads in a bunch of different areas, do you guys kind of work with people like that?
Yeah, definitely reach out to me. We start doing volume discounts at about 200 leads total. So if you're interested in anything more than 200 leads, definitely reach out, and we could discount accordingly depending on the volume. We have agents out in California digesting 1,000 leads a month. So
Wow.
this is the good thing with us is it works on a level of 30 leads a month, but if you use the same, it's easy to scale as it's kind of the gasoline to the engine. And once you build the engine of, hey, once I get a lead, I'm sending this direct mail piece out, this magazine's out, this ISA is calling, you could scale this to
Yep.
thousands, 2,000 leads a month. So it's easy to scale, as we've seen with agents. And we see a lot that start with 50 leads a month that are now doing 200, because once they build the blueprint, you're just adding the gasoline on the top, which is the easy part.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, that's, I don't see any other questions here in the chat. So, I just, and if you do still have one, go ahead and throw it in there real quick. But, oh, here we go. What if there are no options for your zip code? So like Las Vegas, I guess, as an example.
Yep. So there is, you could reach out to, there's a waiting list. So like in Las Vegas, we're completely sold out. So if you reach out to info@Catalyze AI with your name and the zip code, we have basically a waiting list. Once leads become available, we'll reach out to you on a first come first served basis.
Nice. Okay. So that was info@catalyzeai.com, correct?
Yep. Correct.
Okay. Perfect.
And
Perfect.
then I could put in, I don't know if there's a chat or anything, Kyle, but
Mhm.
you could throw
Yeah.
in my email as well, or maybe we send a follow-up
I-
email or
I'll
something.
throw that in the description. I mean, as long as you're comfortable with that, I'll put that in the description of the video down here. So if
Yeah.
people do want to get in direct contact with you, Rylan, they'll have your email. Like I say, I mean, you've been amazing person to work with ever since I came across your company, and I was like, wow, you were responsive, and then you were able to jump on a call for my team, and I thought that was amazing. And then now you're jumping on this, so really appreciate all that you're doing. I know that you've got a lot of great opportunity and potential in your future. Hopefully, there's a lot of agents that will try you guys out. I think, like I say, based on what my team's experienced already, I think that so far everything's been positive. So I feel like very good recommending you guys, and hopefully there'll be some more feedback that we can give here soon. So we'll get some more people signed up and using you guys as service. So
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
last
Kyle.
words that you want to share, Rylan?
No, I appreciate having me on, Kyle. I think, thanks for doing this, and I think we could have more of these, and we could have another one about scripts and all that stuff. As that could be another hour conversation. But I think,
Yeah.
in general, agents just are seeing so much success. I think it's timing, as well as we're going through a massive shifting environment. And the people that are selling the homes are going to be selling the homes in the future. If we get a little more choppy waters, or those that need to sell, and that's all around life events. So I
Mhm.
think we're just trying to position ourselves with our agents, our clients, to be like, hey, we want to help you through the worst of the worst of market timing cycles, because homes that sell in good markets from an inheritance are always selling in bad markets. And so that's, at the end of the day, we want to help agents in all market cycles. And so appreciate you having me on. Excited to be back at any time.
Yeah.
To any of your listeners want to hop on another kind of one-on-one demo, feel free to reach out to me, and then we'll go from there. But thanks again, Kyle.
You bet, Rylan. Yeah, thank you so much. And guys, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back here next Tuesday. And if you have any questions in the meantime, send them, put them in the comments, and we'll get back in touch with you. Thanks,
Sounds
everybody.
good.
Take care.
See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.